In this lesson, we're going to look at Python syntax in the W3schools Python tutorials. So this is the section on Python syntax. Here we're going to look at executing Python syntax, Python indentation, Python variables, Python comments, and some exercises. Well, I'll let you do the exercises on your own, but yeah. I suggest you go to the W3school page and practice along. So in the first example, they're going to show us how to execute Python. Let's just skip that. Let's look at indentation. Okay. So indentation refers to the spaces at the beginning of a line of code, where in other programming languages, the indentation in code is for readability only. The indentation in Python is very important. Python uses indentation to indicate a block of code. So this is what they mean by indentation. It's the space between, in this column here, between the line and the edge of the code, okay, of the block of code. So let's give it a try. Okay, so in this statement, you see a conditional statement or control structure that says if 5 is greater than 2, then print 5 is greater than 2. Let's run it and see what happens. So it says it says 5 is greater than 2. So there's a couple things here. So here, well, let's just get to the core of the lesson here, which is the indentation, before we look at this part here, the if statement. So if we got rid of this indentation and we ran it, we get an error. See, line 2. This is line 2. It says, sorry, indentation error, expected and indented block. So in order to get rid of the error, you need to put at least one space here. Let's run it. So now Python understands that this line is part of this, falls under this condition or this block. Okay, so if let's put 2 spaces, let's see what happens. Okay, 5 is greater than 2. So it interprets it in the same way. Let's get rid of this if statement. And here it's saying unexpected indent. So if you don't have this conditional statement, then there would be no need to put an indent. So let's get rid of the indent. And the error goes away. Okay. Let me just get rid of. So if I get rid of the comment here and I run this, Python is expecting this print to be inside of this block from after the if statement. So it's gonna throw an error, indentation error. So to get rid of that, we need to put a space or an indent. We'll get into this after about the if, else statements, if conditions, this operator, greater than operator, in another lesson. Okay, let's go on to the next part here. So you should try this out just to see what it's like, to see what happens when when you forget to put a space after an if statement or in a control in a block of code. So okay, Python will give an error if you skip the indentation. So we did that already. The number of spaces is up to you as a programmer, but it has to be at least 1. So remember, we put 1 space, we put 2 spaces, we pressed tab, had the same effect. Okay. here they're showing us that, let's try this. So here, right, if 5 is greater than 2, which is true, right? 5 is greater than 2. I'll just write here true. I'll run it first to see what happens. Okay, so it runs. Everything executes fine. And the point here is that you can put any number of spaces as long as there's one space, at least one space. Okay. So if we get rid of this space, we run it, we have an error. Okay. So the important point is you have to put a space or an indent here. Okay. I could even put some space between these two blocks. Okay. So that is showing us. So the point here is that, I'll just write it out here. So it is important in Python to indent code if it is part of a block. Okay. Let's go to the next lesson. So they're here. If you have the same, you have to use the same number of spaces in the same block of code, otherwise Python will give an error. Oh yeah, this is another important one. Notice in this one we have two different blocks, right? So this is one block of code, and here we have another block of code. Okay. There are two different statements, two separate statements here. And because of that, you don't need to, you can use a different amount of indentation in the first block as the second block. See, this one has one space indented, this one has several spaces. So what they're telling us here is that the indentation has to be the same as the first indentation in the block. Let's see what they mean by trying it out. So I'm going to run it. And it says here, sorry, indentation area, unexpected indent. This was in line 3. Okay, this is line 3. So to fix that error, you have to make sure that within the same block, the lines have to be indented by the same number of spaces. Let's run it. Okay, see, now the error went away. Now this is one block, right? Okay. If we make a separate block, so let's block 2. Let's just say if 2 is equal to 2, then we'll change the number of indentations. We'll add 2 indentations or several, more than, like, I don't know, I think this is like maybe 8 white spaces or something. Print. So true. Okay. And then here we'll print false. Or no, let's put this here. Several indents. Fewer indents. Okay, let's see where the error is. So it's saying unindented does not match the outer indentation level. Unindent does not match outer indentation level. Indentation error, unindent does not match outer indentation level. Line 10. I guess this is line 10. I can't really count here, but if we're going to debug this, we know that this already worked, right? This first part. So actually, to debug this, I'm just gonna get rid of, comment this part out, run it. Okay, it's the same error. So now I'm gonna, I have a feeling that the error is here somewhere. I'm sure you can tell where it is, right? But I'll comment this out. Okay, so because this evaluates to true, this block, this will run, right? Print several indents. Now, because this second line here is not at the same level as the first line, we got an error. So to get rid of the error, I just commented this out. But if I wanted to fix the code, I just have to go like this. Okay, I put it at the same level, have the same indent size as the line above it, and run it. Let's see what I did wrong here. It says inconsistent use of tabs. I did something wrong here. Inconsistent use of tabs and spaces. Let's try. Oh, okay. I think here I used a combination of white spaces and tabs. Let's just use white spaces for now. Print. Block 2. Let's just run it. Okay. It's working now. Was wondering why it wasn't going to work. The strange thing here is, why is this red? I'm not sure. But anyways, it runs. The point of this lesson was to see why... I'll just get rid of this here. Was to see why... to understand that if you don't have the same number of spaces, it's not part of the same block. Okay. Now these two aren't part of the same block, so you have to have the same indentation size, number of indentation spaces in both lines for it to run properly. Run it. Okay, it works. So yeah, let's go on to the next part. Okay, Python variables. So in Python, variables are created when you assign a value to it. So here, we're saying we create a variable x, we assign it the value of 5. We create a value of y, and we assign it the value of hello world. Print x and print y. So we have 5 and we have hello world. Okay. So now if we were going to I mean, we're not this lesson isn't really 100% about variables, but it's just showing you that, yeah, you can assign a value to a variable. So I could assign this, say, 8, you know, and I could change this to hello people. And I would get 8 hello people. So it's printing y and x and y, sorry. So you could also, I just want to show you, so if I got rid of these quotation marks, this hello people string wouldn't be assigned properly to y. Let's run it. See, it's throwing an error. It's saying invalid syntax. During handling of the above section, another error occurred. It says this is not the right syntax. So in order to, it's thinking that this is syntax. So in order to tell Python that this is not syntax but a string, you need to put quotation marks, okay, around the string so that it's treated as a string. Let's run it again. You can also use single quotation marks. So let's single quotes, sorry. And if you were to use, say, a single quote and a double quote, let's see what would happen. It would throw an error, I think. Yeah. So you need to either use single quotes or double quotes, okay, for a string, to assign a string. I could also, because Python sees that this is a number, okay, I could do some math here. So it would assign 8 plus 2 to x. Let me just fix this. Okay, run it again. Okay, 10. See, it prints 10. So it says 8 plus 2, adds them up, and then it assigns it to x. Now, I just want to try one more thing. So let's say x, y, z. Let's create a variable called z, and let's add x to z. Sorry, x and y. Let's add them together and see what happens. Okay, so you can't combine, you can't use this addition operator with an int and a string. It doesn't work in Python. In this way, anyways. Okay, so I'll just get rid of indent this out. Okay, so I hope you can try this out on your own. Let's go to the next one. Comments here. So we already learned about comments from the previous parts here. I showed you what a comment was, but just try it again. So anytime you put this hash mark before a line, it's a comment, and it doesn't show up when it's compiled by Python. So let's run that. Okay, so yeah, hello world. If I get rid of this comment, this hash mark, and I run it, it's gonna throw an error. See, invalid syntax. It's thinking that this writing here is code, but it's not a valid. It's not valid syntax, okay, for Python. So in order to get rid of the error, you have to put a hash. So now, after you're done, you can test yourself out with these exercises. I'm not gonna do this. I'll do one of them. Okay. So insert the missing part of the code below in the output to output hello world. So as you can guess, I'm sure you know, we print. Okay. Submit answer correct. Okay. I'll let you do these exercises on your own. Okay. But for now, that concludes this lesson 2, where we went over Python indentation, Python variables, and comments in Python. In the next lesson, we'll go over, I guess we're going to go in more detail. They're going to cover comments again, but in more detail, because you want to learn about multi-line comments, and we'll go over variables in more detail and so on. So thank you again for watching this video. Take care.